From erased gods to cursed brands burned into your soul, these are the biggest mysteries that made Dark Souls players lose their minds for over a decade. Gwyn's firstborn. For years, Dark Souls players had one burning question. Who the hell was Gwyn's firstborn son? The game makes it clear this guy existed. There are statues in Anor Londo with their faces scratched off. Item descriptions mention a god of war who got erased from history for siding with dragons. The Ring of the Sun's firstborn exists, but no name attached. It's like From Software dangled this mystery in front of us, then set it on fire. The community went insane trying to figure it out. Popular theories ranged from Solaire that Jolly Sunbro everyone loved to Andre the blacksmith, because apparently being buff and helpful made you suspicious. People analyzed every NPC's dialogue, every statue placement, every goddamn pixel of sunlight imagery. The Warrior of Sunlight Covenant worshipped this nameless god, praising the sun like it owed them rent money. But no concrete answers, just speculation built on speculation, held together by desperate hope and too much free time. Then Dark Souls 3 dropped in 2016 and finally gave us the truth. The Nameless King. You find him in Archdragon Peak, riding a goddamn storm drake, wielding lightning like it's going out of style. This boss fight confirms everything. He's Gwyn's son. He betrayed his father by allying with the ancient dragons. The same dragons Gwyn's faction spent an entire age exterminating. That's why his name got scrubbed from history. That's why the statues have no faces. Gwyn didn't just disown him. He erased him from existence like a disappointed parent deleting their kid's baby photos. But here's what nobody expected. The reveal didn't just answer who he was, it opened new questions. Why did he side with dragons over his own father? What happened during those lost centuries? And here's the strangest part. The Nameless King guards Archdragon Peak like he's something even Gwyn couldn't destroy. Keep that in mind, because it matters. The Nameless King's entire design screams God of War who chose dragons over family. His armor matches descriptions from DS1 items. His weapons are Dragon Slayer gear turned against its original purpose. Even his boss arena sits in a place where time doesn't work right, hidden behind a gesture you'd only find if you paid attention to obscure lore breadcrumbs. From Software made you work for this reveal, but they delivered. After 5 years of speculation, the mystery got solved, and it was a middle finger to dear old dad wrapped in lightning, the pendant. Let me tell you about the most diabolical prank in gaming history. When Dark Souls launched in 2011, players could choose a starting gift at character creation. Most items had clear uses. A key opens doors. Humanity restores your form. The master key breaks sequence. Then there's the pendant, a seemingly useless trinket with a vague description about sentimental value. No obvious function. No immediate payoff. Just there. Hidetaka Miyazaki, in a pre-release interview, casually mentioned the pendant as his recommended starting gift. That's it. That one comment sent the entire community into a frenzy. Players assumed it had to unlock some secret, maybe a hidden ending, maybe a shortcut. Maybe it would reveal the true nature of the undead curse if you held it during a specific cutscene at 3 a.m. under a blood moon while wearing no armor. People tried everything. They brought it to every NPC, every bonfire, every suspicious wall. They analyzed its icon frame by frame. The wikis exploded with theories. Reddit threads stretched for miles. Years passed. Data miners tore the game's code apart. And that's when things got weird, because they found something. Not a secret, the opposite. Absolute confirmation the pendant did nothing, which raised a darker question. If Miyazaki knew it was worthless, why make it seem important? What was he actually testing? Nothing. No hidden pendant interactions. No secret doors. The only actual use? Trading it to Snuggly the Crow in the Undead Asylum for a slightly better item. That's it. A standard crow trade. Nothing special. Then in 2012, Miyazaki finally admitted the truth in an IGN interview. He'd been trolling. The pendant had no secret purpose. He just wanted to mess with players, see how far their paranoia would take them. Quote, I had a little bit of an intention to play a prank. This man watched millions of gamers lose their minds hunting for a mystery that didn't exist, and his response was basically, Lamau got him. The pendant became gaming's most famous red herring, a deliberate waste of time designed to exploit the community's obsession with secrets. And you know what? It worked perfectly, because even after the reveal, people still pick it just to feel included in the joke. The Pygmy. The opening cinematic of Dark Souls mentions 4 beings who found Lord Souls in the First Flame. Nito, the Witch of Izalith, Gwyn, and the Furtive Pygmy. 3 of them became major players in the Age of Fire. The 4th, forgot, erased, reduced to a footnote in a history written by gods who really didn't want humans knowing their origins. The Pygmy found the Dark Soul, became the progenitor of humanity, then vanished from the narrative like a deadbeat dad dodging child support. But here's where it gets interesting. The Artorias of the Abyss DLC introduces Manus, Father of the Abyss. This boss lurks in the ruins of Ulasil, a corrupted mass of humanity driven mad by torture and grave robbing. His soul description calls him a primeval human, and his attacks literally spawn humanity sprites, those dark, wispy things that represent the essence of mankind. The evidence stacks up fast. Manus existed before recorded history. His power stems from the Dark Soul, the same soul the pygmy wielded. His madness birthed the Abyss, that corrupting void that represents humanity's unchecked darkness. The community consensus leans heavily toward Manus being the furtive pygmy, or at least a fragment of him. The timeline fits. The thematic connections fit. The fact that Gwyn and his crew actively suppressed knowledge about humanity's true nature fits perfectly with erasing the pygmy from history. Dark Souls 3's Ringed City DLC complicates things by introducing multiple pygmy lords, suggesting the Dark Soul got split among several beings. But the core mystery remains. Humanity's creator was someone or something the gods feared enough to bury completely. But wait, if the pygmy was erased, who's been leaving breadcrumbs? Someone wants you to know this history. The Darkroot Garden, the Abyss, Ulasyle's ruins. They're not accidents. Someone's preserving evidence the gods tried to bury, and if Gwyn went to such lengths to hide the truth, what does that say about what humanity actually is? What makes this mystery so effective is how it reframes everything. The undead curse? Gwyn's desperate attempt to keep humans from claiming their dark age. The dark sign? A brand to trap humanity in cycles of death, preventing them from realizing their true power. The entire plot of Dark Souls revolves around extending the Age of Fire, keeping the pygmy's legacy suppressed. And most players beat the game without ever realizing they're fighting to maintain their own oppression. Ash Lake. You ever stumble into an area in a game and just stop? Forget the objectives, forget the enemies, just stand there absorbing the wrongness of what you're seeing? That's Ash Lake. Hidden behind two illusory walls in the Great Hollow, past some of the most annoying platforming in the game, you find this, an endless gray beach beneath the world, with massive stone pillars stretching into infinity, holding up the entire planet. It's beautiful, it's haunting, and right there, half buried in the ash, is a skull the size of a house. Nobody knows what that skull belongs to. The game doesn't tell you. No item descriptions reference it, no NPC mentions it. It's just there, massive and ancient and dead, raising questions From Software has never answered. The leading theories? Either it's a fallen giant from the Tomb of Giants, which doesn't make sense because those giants are big, but not that big. Or it's an ancient dragon remnant, which tracks better with the whole Age of Immortal Dragons thing the opening cinematic mentions. But it's all speculation. What drives people crazy is how deliberate the placement feels. From Software hid Ash Lake behind multiple secrets, made you work to reach it, then put this massive skull front and center like it means something. The area is basically a visual thesis on the game's themes. Everything great eventually falls, but there's something else. That skull's position, half buried, facing the Hydra, suggests it was looking at something when it died, watching something, or waiting for something. And the Hydra? It's guarding that spot, which means whatever that skull was, something doesn't want you near it. On the game's themes, everything great eventually falls and gets buried under ash. The pillars holding up the world mirror the lies holding up the Age of Fire. And that skull, maybe it represents the first casualty of Gwyn's war. Maybe it's the corpse of something that predates the flame. Or maybe it's just environmental storytelling without a concrete answer. Because From Software loves making you squirm. The mystery endures because it's so visible, yet so ignored by the game itself. No boss guards it, no covenant revolves around it, it's just there, this monument to something dead and forgotten. Exactly like the furtive pygmy, exactly like the true history of the world. Ash Lake doesn't need to explain itself. The skull's existence is the point, the narrator. Here's one that still keeps lore nerds up at night. Who's narrating the opening cinematic? That dramatic voice laying out the Age of Ancients? The discovery of the First Flame? The rise of the Lords? It's not Frampt, it's not Kathi, it's not Guinevere's illusion or Gwendolyn's projection. Just this omniscient female voice delivering the game's core mythology with the weight of someone who watched it all happen. The most popular theory points to Velka, the goddess of sin. The evidence? Circumstantial but compelling. Velka's associated with crows, and crows are everywhere in Dark Souls, carrying you to the asylum, trading items, showing up in suspicious places. The painted world of Ariamis, which houses Covenant exiles who've sinned against the gods, has heavy Velka imagery. The Book of the Guilty tracks PvP sins, tying sin mechanics directly into Covenant lore. And narratively, a goddess who judges sins would have perfect reason to chronicle the gods' crimes against humanity. But here's the thing, From Software has never confirmed anything. The voice actress isn't credited in a way that links to any in-game character. No item descriptions reference a chronicler. No NPC even mentions the concept of someone recording history. The narrator exists purely in that opening cutscene, then vanishes completely from the game. It's like Miyazaki included this voice specifically to frame the story, then refused to integrate it into the lore because explaining things is for cowards. Unless you look closer, because crows appear at every major turning point in your journey. The Asylum, Ariamis, item trades. They're always watching, always present, which means either Velka's tracking you or something else is using crows to observe. And if someone's watching the Chosen Undead this closely, what are they waiting to see you do? What makes this mystery fascinating is how it affects interpretation. If Velka's narrating, it suggests the gods' version of history isn't the full truth that someone's keeping records they don't control. If it's an unknown entity, it implies the universe has observers beyond the gods and primordial serpents. And if it's just a narrative device with no lore significance, then why make it so distinctive? Why use a female voice when most authority figures in the game are male or monstrous? The community will probably never get a definitive answer. From Software moved on to other projects. The trilogy's complete, but that opening voice remains one of those perfect Dark Souls mysteries. Evocative, thematically rich, and totally unexplained. The Dark Sign? Let's talk about the most visible mystery in the entire game. That flaming hole in your chest. The Dark Sign marks you as undead, prevents true death, and slowly drains your humanity until you go hollow. Every player sees it from the character creation screen. Every death reminds you it's there. But the game never actually explains what it is, where it came from, or why it suddenly started appearing on people. The answer, pieced together from item descriptions and environmental clues, is horrifying. Gwyn created it. The Lord of Sunlight, the god who sacrificed himself to prolong the Age of Fire, literally branded humanity with a curse to prevent them from claiming their birthright. See, when the flame fades, darkness rises, and darkness is humanity's natural element. The furtive pygmy's dark soul is their inheritance. Humans should thrive in an age of dark, but that would end the god's reign, topple Gwyn's legacy, and let the abyss spread unchecked. So Gwyn pulled the ultimate authoritarian move. He cursed humanity with undeath, trapping them in cycles of death and rebirth that sever their connection to the dark. The Dark Sign keeps humans weak, hollowed, desperate. It forces them to hunt souls just to maintain sanity. And most brilliantly, it creates a system where undead naturally gravitate toward linking the flame, the very act that perpetuates their curse. It's a prison disguised as purpose, a brand that makes you complicit in your own oppression. The undead curse doesn't just exist to make the game work mechanically. It's the narrative foundation. Every respawn at a bonfire is you experiencing Gwyn's trap. Every boss soul you collect feeds into the system maintaining the Age of Fire. The Chosen Undead prophecy. Framped pushes? Propaganda. A lie to convince some random hollow that dying in the kiln of the first flame is heroic instead of suicidal. Dark Souls 3 eventually reveals the cycle's been going so long, entire kingdoms have risen and fallen. But here's what's worse. Some kingdoms tried to break free. The Ringed City, Lundor, Ulasil, all attempted to escape Gwyn's trap. All failed, which raises the real question. If even kingdoms with armies and resources couldn't break the Dark Sign, how is one undead supposed to? What's darkly genius about this mystery is how it recontextualizes the entire game. You're not the hero, you're a pawn in a cosmic scam. The Dark Sign isn't a curse in the traditional sense, it's a tool of control, and you're wearing it like a badge. The only way to break free is to refuse to link the fire, walk away, let the Age of Dark come naturally. And even then, Dark Souls 3 suggests the cycle just keeps going, because Gwyn's brand runs too deep, because humanity can't escape a curse that's literally burned into their souls. The Dark Sign is the mystery hiding in plain sight. Every player sees it, most never question it, and that's exactly how Gwyn designed it. The painted world of Ariamis is one of Dark Souls' strangest areas. You access it by touching a painting in Anor Londo, get transported to a frozen nightmare realm full of harpies and bone wheels, and Priscilla, a giant half-dragon woman asking you to leave peacefully because you're clearly lost. The place feels like a prison, a refuge, and a dumping ground all at once, and the game never properly explains why it exists. The lore suggests Ariamis, a painter, created this world as shelter for beings rejected by the gods. Priscilla's description calls her a crossbreed, an abomination in the eyes of Gwyn's regime. The painted world houses other outcasts, hollows, dark wraiths, monsters too weird for the main world. It's basically Dark Souls' island of misfit toys, except the toys can kill you in seconds. Covenant exiles tied to Velka's Book of the Guilty also end up here. adding a Justice Kawash punishment layer to the mystery. But here's what makes it fascinating. Nobody knows Ariamis' motives. Was the painted world created as an act of mercy, giving the unwanted somewhere to exist? Or was it a prison, a way to contain threats without the PR disaster of outright execution? Priscilla's dialogue suggests she's been there so long she can't remember the outside world. The entire area operates on different rules. Snow falls upward, physics barely work, you can't warp out until you finish. It's a sealed pocket dimension with no clear connection to the Age of Fire or the flame cycles. Here's what's unsettling. Priscilla asks you to leave, politely, like she's protecting you from something. Not herself, something else in that world. And when you reach the painting's exit, there's no celebration, no reward, just silence and snow. Like you've interrupted something, or worse, like you've been watched the entire time. The painted world wasn't just hiding Priscilla, it was hiding something she guards. Dark Souls 3 expands on painted worlds with the Ashes of Ariandel and Ringed City DLCs, showing that new paintings can be created, that they're tied to the concept of flame and rot. But that actually deepens the mystery. If painting worlds is a known technique, who else uses it? What other pocket dimensions exist? The DS3 painter wants to create a better world, one cold and dark and gentle, as if the painted realms are meant to be alternatives to the broken cycle outside. The painted world stands out because it asks questions Dark Souls rarely touches. What happens to the rejected? Where do crossbreeds and outcasts go when gods decide they don't deserve existence? And who has the power and the compassion to create shelter for them? Ariamis remains a ghost in the lore, but their creation proves someone in this brutal universe cared about the forgotten. Whether that care was genuine or just another form of control, we'll probably never know. The Serpents. Let's end with one of the slipperiest mysteries in the trilogy. Frampt and Kathi, the primordial serpents. These snake-faced bastards guide you through Dark Souls, offering help that's actually them pushing competing agendas. Frampt wants you to link the fire, maintain Gwyn's legacy, keep the Age of Light going. Kathi wants you to embrace the dark, let the flame fade, usher in humanity's true era. Both claim they're helping you fulfill your destiny. But here's the problem. They both knew about each other the whole time. Frampt doesn't mention Kathi by accident. He knows you might find him. Kathi knows about Frampt's lies, but waits for you to discover them. They're not enemies. They're co-conspirators running the same con from different angles, which means the real question isn't fire or dark. It's what do the serpents actually want? The mystery isn't just their motives, it's what they are. The game calls them primordial, implying they predate the first flame. Their design suggests draconic origins, but they're not classified as dragons. Dark Souls 3 shows a massive serpent graveyard in the Ringed City, hinting these things existed in the Age of Ancients. Some theories suggest they're twin-headed immortal beings, fragments of something larger, or servants of powers beyond the lords, but nothing's confirmed. What's most disturbing is how they operate. Both serpents lie constantly. Frampt serves Gwyndolin, pushing the chosen undead prophecy that's total fabrication. Kathi leads the Dark Wraiths, collecting humanity for purposes that benefit him, not humans. Dark Souls 3 reveals that even after the Age of Fire collapses into the Age of Dark, the serpents are still around, still manipulating, still guiding chosen undead through cycles that benefit nobody but themselves. They're not picking sides in the Fire-Dark conflict. They're sustaining the conflict itself. The question becomes, why? What do primordial serpents gain from eternal cycles of linking and fading? Are they feeding on the chaos, preventing some worse outcome, playing a game so long-term that we can't even see the board? From Software never answers. The serpents remain these ancient, unknowable manipulators whose true goals died in the Age of Ancients. We're just the latest generation of undead dumb enough to trust them. And that might be the point. Dark Souls thrives on mistrust, on questioning every authority figure's motives. The primordial serpents represent the ultimate unreliable narrators, creatures who've witnessed the entire history of the world and decided the best use of that knowledge is screwing with whoever's immortal enough to listen. From Software built Dark Souls on a foundation of questions without answers. Some mysteries got solved through sequels and DLCs. Some remained stubbornly unsolved despite years of community investigation. And one was just Miyazaki admitting he trolled us for sport. But that ambiguity, that refusal to explain everything, turned players into archaeologists. We dug through item descriptions like legal documents. We analyzed architecture and enemy placement. We built entire wiki pages on single sentences of dialogue. And somehow, that made us us love the world more. The biggest mysteries of Dark Souls aren't just puzzles to solve. They're invitations to think, to question, to realize that sometimes the answer matters less than the search. Whether you believe Manus is the pygmy or Velka's the narrator, or that skull in Ash Lake means anything at all, you're engaging with the lore the way From Software intended. Actively, obsessively, without a guidebook holding your hand. That's why these mysteries endure. Not because they have perfect answers, but because they respect you enough to let you find your own. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, click the video on screen.